Won't you please come join me for some midnight therapy? Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with a very special episode of Midnight Therapy. I'm your host, Cat Matthews, the one and only, the original Northeast Cowboy bad guy. Anyways, Cat Matthews, here I am. We are back. We are right into Halloween season here. So I wanted to give you a good life recap. Very quick episode tonight. Back to a traditional style episode of Midnight Therapy. We are going to talk about some things that are happening that I think are worth talking about. As some of you may know, there is an election coming up very soon, presidential election in the United States of America. If been paying attention, it's going to be a little interesting. And there's been some notable developments in that, and we're going to cover that a little. I'm also just going to cover some stuff that's been going on, a little recap into the world of Cat Matthews, what I've been up to, what's going on. You know, the huge. A lot of stuff. I've been very busy trying to get these episodes out for you, loyal 20 or so listeners. I know you look forward to this as a part of your life, and I'm happy for that. It's nice to have things, outlets. It's nice to go to therapy. It's nice to go to midnight therapy. Before we get started here, as always, a message from our sponsor, the one and only Three Saints Barbershop, located in historical downtown Jessup, Pennsylvania. Mike, you are the best. He recently gave me a beard trim and, a little haircut, keeping me fresh. That's how it's looking good. The mustache is a little out of whack. That's not his doing. That's mine. It's hard to tame such a beast of a mustache like this. That's why many don't do it, and many haven't done it since the late 1800s. But, it's worth being a little different. As I said earlier, Halloween full swing. This is kind of like Halloween weekend this past weekend. Halloween fell on a Thursday this year, and everything seemed to happen before the weekend before. I had two parties that I went to. I went to the Montage Mountain one where me and Christy had won last year. We won $3,000 total. We came in second and third. Zoltar, or if you remember, I did that one episode a while back. I was in the Zoltar box. We make our costumes every year, usually out of cardboard. It's like a tradition. Zoltar got third, and hers was even. We had like leftover cardboard, so we threw together Sam's Club, like the booth, the free sample booth, and she was giving out like free samples. Got second. How cool. This year we did not win. We made the top, like the 25, the final judging round, but then we didn't win. It was weird. It was rigged. I don't know. But this year I was a slot machine, and she was a deer mounted on a fireplace. It was pretty cool. I'll share some pictures of that through the magic of editing. So we did that. I've been having truck problems. The truck is old. I've been having these like epiphanies. Like maybe I have to get my life together. A lot of weird stuff has been happening where it's like, man, this is growing up, I guess. Growing up kind of sucks. Having to pay for insurance and having to work more and not having enough time to do nonsense, and your truck giving you problems. These are all adult things. Now, granted, not everybody drives a 26-year-old lifted truck with a set of bullhorns on the front into adulthood, but I do. But with that comes some problems, and my truck's been having problems, and then we got them fixed. But as we rolled up to that Montage party, I like lost my brakes. Pretty weird, weird thing. But I was like, the show must go on. Now help me get in my slot machine box, and we'll worry about that later. We did that. I texted my great buddy, shout out to Brandon, the best mechanic around. I said, hey, here's what's going on. And without even hesitation, he was like, oh, I think that's sounds like your vacuum hose line to your master cylinder came off. I didn't even know what he was saying. He told me where it was when I went out at the end of the night. It was off, and I put it back on, and sure enough, the truck was back in action. So big shout out to him. Um, but that was like a little snag in the plan. I didn't expect that. You know, things happen. And then the next night, we had to host karaoke at the one and only AJ's in Carbondale. What a place! What a place! Always an odd time up there. It was extra odd last night. There was like a Kiss tribute band and a costume contest, and then after we were the 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. DJ slash karaoke entertainment. And there was like more people that showed up for the karaoke, which was crazy. Packed with drunk people, all Halloweened up. That was interesting. I will say. That was very interesting. Very interesting place. If you can get there, like if you're from around here and you could go there, just go. It's like the last of its kind, that bar. Got a very 70s vibe to it. You could like smoke in it sometimes. The crowd is interesting. But yeah, that was that. We got home very late last night, so I'm very tired tonight. Um, Making the costumes was fun. We were at that montage party. I will say, the art of making costumes, like there was a lot of people that try really hard because they're giving away like $5,000 up there. So you see a lot of energy and time put into these costumes, and we put a good amount of time into ours, and we try. But I will say there was like a cheap way out with Halloween if you're a girl, and it's kind of just like dressing half naked. Now I'm not judging at all, but I did see a lot of like lewd sexual acts at this party. Like I'm not lying. Like it was kind of like the club, like when I was in college. Like it was like went to a college club. It was like that, but worse. And in like these, what's the word? Without saying like disparaging words, I guess these sexualized costumes. It was just a lot of that. You know what I'm saying? It was a lot of that. It's like I don't know, like a maid, like the maid costume. There's a lot of maid. There's like 12 maids. They were all, they weren't cleaning. Tell you that they were dirtying the place up. But hey, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Cheap way to do Halloween, but sometimes it works. Saw a lot of that though. It's quite interesting, I guess. Um, Karaoke was worse. Like I can't even explain what went on there. Like by worse, I mean better. Like it was the stuff. Like you would think I was making it up. This one man came up to me and said, "Have you ever heard of the Green Beret?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "I'm in I'm in charge of all of them right now." I said, "Oh, it's cool." This man was probably 75. And he's like, "I have the nuclear football." Now, granted, I was queuing up Shania Twain for someone, and this is what this guy's telling me. And he's like, "I met you 40 years ago. Remember?" And I was like, "No, I'm 26." And he goes, "I know Ace Frehley very well." He goes, "So let me sing Bob Dylan." And then he never did, but very odd weekend. Halloween is in full swing though. We just got we do a walkway every year in our yard. Got this cool wooded walkway back there, and we light it up, and we put actors to jump out and scare the trick or treaters. So we got that set up today. Never stops. Never stops. We've been doing a lot of house projects. We were gonna tile. We are gonna retile this front entryway. We went to Home Depot, bought all the tile stuff, ripped up the floor, immediately saw how much work it was going to be, and took it all back. There's no shame in quitting. Sometimes we went with linoleum or laminate, whatever the vinyl floor. Cost like a fraction and got it done quick. Shout out to Ricky. Thanks for helping with that, Rick. Yeah, we're not master tilers. We thought we were. Sometimes the heat of the moment takes over. You think you could do these things. Yeah. No. So yeah, a lot of house projects going on. We got that cat. I don't know if I told you. We mentioned last time 4 chickens got slaughtered. That's true. But I feel like some weird cosmic thing happened where we like sacrificed 4 chickens and then they gave us a cat. Like the weird universe, the gods gave us like a cat or something in exchange for the 4 chickens. I don't know what it was. I don't know what Old Testament thing we did. Like I don't know if we did a ritual of some sort, but we got a cat. Like this kitten appeared in our house. Don't know how. It was too young to survive on its own. It was by itself, and it was just in our sunroom one day. Came home from work, and I was like, "There's a cat," and now we have a cat. I was never a cat person, but now we are. We have a cat. I'm gonna like grab him at the end, put him on here so you guys could see her. It's a she. Look at this little guy. This is Fern. But yeah, we do have a cat now, so there's that. Let's jump into the politics. So I've been taking a break from it. Obviously, I've been taking a break from everything, but there's been too much. It's just been too crazy. Kind of after the Trump assassination, Trump assassination attempt. I really haven't been too focused. Like the debate went on, the Kamala Trump debate. I mean, is it really worth me going into that? No, I'm sure you've all seen him say they're eating the pets, and that's really it. And that says a lot about us as a nation, where like everything's on the line: border security, the economy, World War III, all these big issues. But the big takeaway was that they're eating the pets. That's not good. She was very robotic and scripted and like a perfect politician. She performed very well in regards of being a politician. And granted, that's why most people like Trump, because he's not a politician. He'll never do that. He'll never out debate Kamala Harris or any career politician because they're perfect masters of rhetoric. They study rhetoric and persuasion. They're like lawyers. They are lawyers most of the time. They know exactly what to say and what not to say and who they're appealing to by saying these things and how to play at emotions and avoid logic. They are great at that. Trump's none of that. Trump is just you're a rich guy at the golf club, the country club, on the golf course, saying what he wants. That's what he is, and he's always been that, and he's always going to be that. So did he? Of course, was he not going to do as great in a debate that is looking for sound bites? Yeah, of course. Like, of course, he's not going to do. They're like, oh, she did better. Yeah, she did, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You could train anyone to talk like that. You could train. There's a great Family Guy where Lois did it. Look that up. Where Lois was like running for office. You know, this is well known stuff. So debates are junk. They don't really do anything. It's just a pissing contest usually. So brings me to my next point, where it's like, if only they could do podcasts, the open, long forum of like open-ended questions, no rush, talk like a human, not like a trained event where you have to get the greatest little blurb out in time so that the media picks it up and makes you look good. And sure enough, that's what happened. That's what we're going to be talking about. Let me just say this, I've been a fan of Joe Rogan for a very long time. He's the reason I probably have this podcast and watch podcasts in general, because of him. I've been at least 10 years now. When I was in college, I was listening to Rogan before he was even big. And throughout this political climate over the past 8 years or so, me and my best friend Eric and everybody were like, what if he went on Rogan? What if Trump went on Rogan? Like, how that was what everyone was always like, oh, yeah, keep dreaming, it'll never happen. And how crazy would it be? And sure enough, right before the final stretch, 2 weeks to the election, Trump went on Rogan. And it is kind of breaking the internet. It is 30 million or so. Who knows? A lot of views. But this is a big moment, regardless of your political beliefs at all, that a president went on Joe Rogan and it's being watched with great numbers. I think it truly solidifies the end of the mainstream media. It's been dying for a very long time. People have been doing their own research and watching their own content related to certain things, whether it be do-it-yourself home projects like me trying to do tile floor, politics, cooking recipes. People have been finding a community of people to listen to and learn from, and there are psychiatrists and astrophysicists and all these different people doing podcasts, and I think that is the new shift in how people are gaining and accessing information. I don't think they're watching CNN anymore or The View anymore. Thank God. Even like Fox and all these shows, they're all the same. They're the same companies own them, and they just say you're going to push this narrative, and you're going to push that narrative, and they have their agendas. And we don't got to get into this, but it's true. But the fact that now podcasts are taking it to the next level, where it's not just useful spreading of information; it's the major platform for a presidential candidate to get their message out. Um, it's worth mentioning Kamala Harris went on Call Her Daddy, which I guess is let's say the female Joe Rogan of podcasts. Like she's the biggest podcast that is, targeting the female audience, and Joe Rogan's probably the biggest targeting the male audience. Um, that's even huge, if you look at her career, where she came from, and now she's interviewing presidential candidates. That's very cool. And I think we should all take that as very cool. That's the American dream right there. That is what's awesome about this country. If we're going to talk just how influential Joe Rogan is for a second, I think the Kamala one was out for a couple weeks now. It had about 700,000 views when I checked this morning. Pretty big. The Trump one's been out for a day. It's at like 30 million just on YouTube alone. Crazy reach. These news platforms are never getting a reach like that, ever. You're never getting an audience like that on your CNN show, ever. Joe Rogan puts a thing out, 30 million people. It is a crazy thing. The podcast world is really getting crazy. So I think that's interesting. One of my other favorite podcasters of all time is Tim Dillon. He had JD Vance on the other day. How crazy is that? The comedian Tim Dillon. Funny podcast, monologue style podcast, just like this one. He inspired this one a lot. And he has the Trump's vice president elect, or his choice for vice president, on his podcast. How crazy is that? Crazy. Unbelievable. Who would have thought 10 years ago, if you said podcasts were going to get this big, you would never believe it. Never believe it. But I think people are longing for a break. Oh, no, I think a divorce from the TikTok quick, short snippet, buzzword, instant gratification, low attention span, small, short term content. I think we had enough. I think we want to dive back into deep diving. I think we want to deep dive back into actually learning about things and not just staring and scrolling and looking at nonsense all day. I think actually sitting down and listening to something productive or educational is the way to go. And I think if you want to get to know somebody, that's the way to get to know them. Not with a debate, not with a news interview where there's all the lights and the pressure and the cameras and the questions set up intentionally to make them sweat and look bad. Podcasts are 100% superior, I'm telling you. So that was really cool for me as a long-term Rogan listener. I never thought that would happen, but it did. And that's all I really wanted to talk about today. A lot of weird things are going on. And then my closing message here is, like, I don't know, we may just be in a simulation. When I talked to my best friend Eric, who was on this show, things are just getting weirder. Like, have you not noticed? Everything's been weird always, but it's like perpetually getting weirder at an accelerated rate. Like, Trump came out with a black MAGA hat on. They're calling it Dark MAGA. And he had like the Undertaker theme playing. Like, what is this? What's going on? I don't know. It's just getting a little crazy. Like, I don't know what to say. I mean, I feel like me and my friend Eric predicted this stuff, like way back when. Like, oh, like, well, that's something we would say. Like, can you imagine Trump came out like to a wrestling theme, and he was like a WWE wrestler? Like, that's something we would have said at a Dunkin', drinking coffee and laughing. And now it's real. It's very weird. Trump could have just dropped out of this election and did a podcast tour. All these people, even Kamala's doing like a podcast tour. He could have did that and then launched his own. Could have Trump Network. He could have got a Bravo show. He could have had Trump Time TV network. It would have been hilarious. He could have his own podcast. It'd be great. Anything he does would be great. If you did a comedy tour, if he just did his rallies but called it a comedy tour, he would still sell out arenas. I don't know why he'd want to be president again. He already did it. I think people like that just can't quit. Like they have to die doing what they love. Like, because even, I don't know, even if he wins again, how's he gonna like get that high back for the rest of his life after 4 years? Like he's never gonna. Like this guy, it's like an unquenchable thirst they have. It's crazy. But man, he could have just kept the comedy tour going. He could have did Trump comedy because he's a really funny guy. That even if you hate him, he's funny sometimes. I just, whether you want him to be the president or not, that's a different thing. But he is very funny. But with that being said, I want everyone to keep their head here. I think, as I said many times, I don't know what's going to happen here. We're 2 weeks out, and I'm going to be doing another episode or two before and after this election. We're going to do a little coverage, maybe even during, who knows. But might have a couple guests on, one in particular. So keep an eye out for that. But in the next couple weeks into this election, I think this is the calm before the storm. I think you're seeing a lot of cool stuff like the podcast, like Trump on Rogan, and this fun stuff, and these dinners and comedy and Kamala on Color Daddy. And this is the calm before the storm. But regardless of who wins, I don't see it just moving on like normal. I think if Kamala Harris wins, there's going to be some terrible backlash from the Trump voters. And I think if Trump wins, I think the left is going to go insane. I don't think they're going to accept it. There are hundreds of scenarios, which I plan on talking with the next guest about very soon, which I'll get into at another time, but I don't see it panning out well either way. So if you are listening to this, I just want you to know it doesn't have to be that way. I would say it is very clear that it shouldn't be that way. This is American federal politics at the highest level. Like, this is not, like, you still have so much more in your life to worry about. Like, this is nice to worry about and to be passionate about. I get it, but excuse me, it's not everything. People make it like it's everything. It's like their whole identity. It's like you're probably never going to meet Kamala Harris or Donald Trump. The president doesn't really change all that much. It's just we're so tribal in, well, I'm on the blue team and I'm on the red team. But it's all made up constructs. I know this is hard for some people to hear, but it is true. You don't need to hate your neighbor because he's a different political affiliation to you. Just like you wouldn't hate your neighbor because he likes a different football team than you, but you might. You shouldn't. But I'm just saying, let's keep our heads here and let's not break up this great experiment, that is America and our whole system that we created, that everyone around the world loves and wants to be a part of. Let's not throw that all away here. Okay, that's all I'm saying. I know tensions getting hot around the world and everything, but America we are who we are. We are what we are for a reason, and that's unity. We are all united, regardless of your beliefs. You have the right to have them and to have different beliefs and to have those beliefs protected. Let's not throw that all away because we were tricked by a corrupt government and media system to hate our neighbors for no reason. We have a lot more in common than you would think, than if you're watching the news and The View every day. But as we approach, let's remember that this is all a country. We're all Americans here. This is a country. This is not this versus that. Forget the idea of the other. There's no other. We're all in this together. We're all in this together alone, as some people would say. It's a good saying. And let's all just be calm. And all jokes aside, if there is going to be World War III or Civil War or anything, can we at least just wait till after the holidays? Like, please just let me enjoy my eggnog. That's all I say. That's my one little request. Like, let's, if that's going to happen, at least put it off until, January. I don't need that now. Now, I don't need that to spoil Thanksgiving or anything like that. No, obviously, just kidding. Let's try to avoid all that. Hopefully, we could find some peace. Um, I think on this show, I'm going to be talking a lot more about some techniques and mindsets. We're going to make it a little more therapeutic, as the show title, states. This is Midnight Therapy. I'm not licensed, but I feel I can help and offer some unique perspectives. So, look, recap. Let's just keep our heads here, everybody. We're going to deep dive into some of those theories, hopefully very soon with a special guest. And then we will do a recap of the election, whatever happens. And remember, we're all in this together alone. You can count on me. You'll be able to see me talk about it. That is for sure. So please remember to watch and enjoy your Halloween weekend. I got the Dracula back here for you. That is one of six Halloween paintings that are part of the Grotesque Holiday Portrait series. They are very relevant this time of year. But yeah, that's going to be it. One more shout out to the sponsor, Three Saints Barber Shop. Thank you for sponsoring the show as always, and thanks for keeping my beard looking sharp. It only lasts a couple days, it grows back really quick, and then I look like a caveman again. But that's okay. It looks good now. Got to enjoy it now. So yeah, happy Halloween to everyone. I hope everyone has a good time trick or treating and or not. You know, you don't have to. It's a free country right now. But yeah, we will be back with some guests and some political commentary. Thank God it'll be over soon, the election, because I'm so sick of hearing the ads and I don't want to talk about it anymore. Kind of want to just know what happens, you know? Getting down to like the final season of the show and it's getting a little nerve-wracking. So I'm happy it's almost over. And that's a wrap. Stay curious, my friends. Thank you for watching as always. Good night.